Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly settle down. I know some of you are enjoying the refreshments. I'm quite sure you'll join us soon. Maybe I'll take 2-3 minutes for your sake and tell you what's happening in MMA in the next few days so that you don't miss them. Immediate program, what is happening on 27th of November. We have a talk on emerging technologies in defense. We have an outstanding speaker, Dr. Satish Reddy, the scientific advisor to Raksha Mandri and also former head of DRDO. Then we also have General Brar, who is the GOC of Dakshin Bharat area, is chairing the session. Then on 4th of December, again we have something to connect with aerospace. It all happened, it's not by design, it's happened by accident, and very, very important topic, the future of aerospace. This is the 11th edition of KC Varghese Endowment Lecture. Again, we have an outstanding speaker, Nikhil Rao, who is the head of Boeing Engineering India, is going to be the speaker. Shankar Jiwal, IPS, the present Director General of Police of Tamil Nadu, is going to be talking on creative policing and how technology can aid creative policing in the state of Tamil Nadu. So, two important speakers. Then on 14th of December, as I mentioned, we have a CFO conclave, it's a paid program. We highly subsidize for members. We have some again outstanding speakers, Shankar founder CAMS and Sikandar Prasad of VATech Wabag, Gopal Desigan, CFO of TVS Motors, Vijay Kumar, CFO of SIFI, Krishnan, Director of Finance of Reddington, from speaker from PwC we have, and we also have Arun Rajagopal, partner PwC, then TG Suresh and a couple of very good speakers. It's a full day conclave covering very, very well planned all the subjects relevant to the CFO. If you are a CFO, I suggest you don't miss this event. You can, because we are going to take very, very few, maximum 200 people will attend this conclave and this very auditorium. Then we have on 19th of December another Read and Grow series, then anti-fragile things that gain from disorder. This is happening by Babu Krishnamurthy is hosting this event. Then on we have a convention of the MMA. It's happening on 12th of February at Taj Carmichael. As a prelude to the convention, we do a number of competitions. One such competition is for the young managers. Theme of this convention, Foundation for Building a Resilient India. The call for nominations has already been sent to you. Please watch out, take part in the competition to benchmark yourself with other organizations, and we give some attractive prizes. This is one of the most sought after event for the young managers. Please do log in and send your nominations as quick as possible. Then we also have 5th V. Narayanan Memorial Lecture, Pons. Again, an outstanding speaker. I'll keep it because I don't want to eat away the time. Now, let me warmly welcome all the viewers watching the program live from all our channels, including we have LinkedIn, which is added. So, as usual, if you have any questions, please send to the number which is flashed on your screen. The distinguished panel this evening, if you agree to respond to all your questions, we only work you. Do some deep work and send questions what is relevant to the topic today. The topic today is deep work, rules for focused success in a distracted world. I know I must compliment the host for this evening is Sangeeta Sumesh for selecting this book. This one book is very, very relevant today. We all talk about deep work, and I know how much we get disturbed. Each one of us, including me, including many of us, do multitasking. When multitasking, yes, get distracted. Even I saw a report recently somewhere, when you do a work, you get a call and you attend to the call, and when you come back to the work, focus to work, it takes, I believe, 22 minutes. I know how they calculate it. It takes 22 minutes to get back to the focus of the work what you have been doing. So this subject which is being discussed, we have got outstanding panel, and we'll have introduction of them, each one of them, and they are going to talk to you and how you can avoid this deep work, and how you can get involved in deep work, and how you will be able to do various, even you do a multitasking, wherein even you do something different at different levels, how is it going to help you out? Because it's very, very important for us to do a focus work, especially the students. Actually, we have to be outstanding in a subject which you are going to be studying. I think this subject will help you out. It will also guide you through. I think this book is very, very fascinating. It gets you through how to get involved. I don't want to think, because we have got three outstanding speakers this evening who are going to be sharing with you. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the distinguished speaker for this evening, Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh, recent leadership coach and speaker, who is the anchor of this session. Then Raghunath Parthasarathy, he is the Chief Financial Officer of Hinduja Tech. Then we also have Ms. Priya Selvaraj, Vice President and Country Head of Power Electronic Siemens Gamesa. Yes, ma'am, very wrong. I don't know, the young gentleman come and occupy the round table. This all not for CEOs, for people like you. I'm telling you, people who are in the wrong, at the end of the road. No, gentlemen, come to the front. Can you help me? Because this all, we want you to feel like a CEO. That's why we kept your round table for you guys. And you want to go and sit in the wrong. Come and sit in the front row. Yes, large number of people will be coming, and I know we will sit comfortable. So that we also tell you to sit in the round table. That you have any questions, the question slips are available here. You can write your question. And let me have the privilege of introducing distinguished speakers for this evening. We also use technology. May I have the AVPs for the speakers?
Mr Raghunath Parthasarathy is Chief Financial Officer at Hinduja Tech. He is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and a qualified cost accountant with over 2.5 decades of experience across the entire gambit of finance function and a spectrum of industries including internet services, financial services, IT slides and healthcare sector. Mr Raghunath has worked with reputed companies including Allsec Technologies, Fortis, Cefi and Standard Chartered Bank. Ms. Priya Selvaraj is the Vice President and Country Head of Power Electronics at Siemens Gamesa, overseeing P&L, operations, technology, and sustainable manufacturing. With extensive experience in the semiconductor and renewable energy sectors, she has held leadership roles at Sun Edison, Mosabaya, and Altera. Ms. Priya has been recognized as FICCI's Best Women Leader in Energy 2023 and one of the top 30 women leaders in energy 2024. A Six Sigma Master Black Belt, she holds US patents and actively supports education and mentorship initiatives for young girls and engineering students. Ms. Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh is a seasoned business and leadership coach, speaker, and author with a background as a CFO. With 25 years of multinational corporate experience, she helps businesses maximize potential, performance, and profits. An independent director on corporate boards, Sangeeta empowers leaders and teams to succeed. She is a chartered accountant, management accountant, and holds executive education from Harvard Business School. A credentialed PCC coach, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of What the Finance, Get High, and Where's the Moolah?
I know some of you have not seen it before, some of you joined.
Mr. Raghunath Parthasarathy is Chief Financial Officer at Hinduja Tech. He is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and a qualified cost accountant with over 2.5 decades of experience across the entire gambit of finance function and a spectrum of industries including internet services, financial services, IT slides and healthcare sector. Mr. Raghunath has worked with reputed companies including Allsec Technologies, Fortis, Cefi and Standard Chartered Bank. Ms. Priya Selvaraj is the Vice President and Country Head of Power Electronics at Siemens Gamesa, overseeing P&L, operations, technology, and sustainable manufacturing. With extensive experience in the semiconductor and renewable energy sectors, she has held leadership roles at Sun Edison, Mosabaya, and Altera. Ms. Priya has been recognized as FICCI's Best Women Leader in Energy 2023 and one of the top 30 women leaders in energy 2024. A Six Sigma Master Black Belt, she holds US patents and actively supports education and mentorship initiatives for young girls and engineering students. Ms. Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh is a seasoned business and leadership coach, speaker, and author with a background as a CFO. With 25 years of multinational corporate experience, she helps businesses maximize potential, performance, and profits. An independent director on corporate boards, Sangeeta empowers leaders and teams to succeed. She is a chartered accountant, management accountant, and holds executive education from Harvard Business School. A credentialed PCC coach, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of what the finance, get high, and where's the moolah?
Thank you for your attention. I just want to show what an outstanding panel we have this evening. And the subject is also really very good. I'm quite sure you're going to have a great insight which you, at the end of the day, when you step out of this hall, will be more wisdom and will some of the deep work. Viewers, as usual, watching the program, send your questions, and also waited for some other people to come and join us. Good. And if you have any questions, we have the question slip, the pen available here. He'll be able to help you out and send your questions to the speaker. Thank you so much, and over to Sangeeta to take it forward. Sangeeta.
Good evening, everybody. So, welcome again to yet another session of Read and Grow. And today's book, like we know, is Deep Work by Cal Newport. Now, this book talks about rules for focused success in a distracted world. Now, the reason I picked this book is because as a leadership coach, I thought I can share insights and help my clients to handle their challenges better, especially on time management. But what really stood out for me about this book is basically, we all know deep work is important, but it increases our awareness on the need for deep work to move away from shallow work and keep the distractions at bay. The essence of this book is that the author has shared the idea of deep work, and then he talks about 4 rules that govern deep rule. Now, after I read this book, I realized that few aspects of the book deeply resonates with me, and to be honest, a couple of them did not. Now, I shall take you through my perspective as we move on for this evening. So, let's start off with the brass tacks. What is deep work? Professional activities that are done in a state of distraction-free concentration that pushes your cognitive abilities to its limit. Now, these efforts, they create value, they improve your skills, and are hard to replicate. He gives the example of Bill Gates, who conducts Think Weeks twice a year, where he would isolate himself and do. If you don't fall, you go back because the technology is advancing day after day. So if you create something useful that's essentially limitless, that's great. That's what deep work is all about. If not, it's mediocre and you could get into trouble. So produce the best stuff that you're actually capable of producing, because deep work is rare and valuable, and hence whoever cultivates the skill will thrive. So the first chapter the author talks about is deep work is valuable. He says there's a premium to being the best, and 3 groups of people who will have advantage in the new economy are those who can work well and creatively with intelligent machines, because we are in the technological age. The second kind are those who are best at whatever they do. And the third are those who have access to capital. So mastering these relevant skills alone is not sufficient. You must transform the latent potential into tangible results that people value. And the 2 abilities to thrive are the ability to quickly master things that are hard, and the ability to produce an elite level in terms of both quality as well as speed. And to develop these, you need to perform deep work, which requires intense concentration in whatever that you're doing. Deep work helps you to produce an elite level, and deep work helps you to quickly learn things that are hard. Now he gives a formula. So he says high quality work that's produced is nothing but time spent into the intensity of focus. So focus is the key of deep work. The type of work that optimizes your performance is deep work. And to produce your peak level, you need to work for extended periods with full concentration on a single task without distractions. He gives the instance of Jack Dorsey, who was the former CEO of Twitter and the co-founder. And according to him, Jack's style of working is not deep. So you may wonder, if deep work is not so important, how do the distracted people like Jack Dorsey do well? Because the necessity of distraction in the lives of these executives is highly specific to their particular jobs. So this is an important message that the author is giving. And he also says, if you ask a CEO to spend 4 hours to think deeply about a particular problem, he says that's a waste of time, because it's smarter to hire 3 subordinates who can think deeply about the problem and then share their thoughts with the CEO hooked for the final decision. The next chapter, he says, deep work is rare. It's not something that's common, because big businesses today, they actively decrease the people's ability to perform deep work, and gives the example of the open office culture. And according to the author, this is something that's very distracting. And he gives a very important question. He says, what's the impact? What's the impact of our current email habits on the bottom line, right? So we spend so much of time on emails, and how exactly is it impacting our bottom line? That's something for us to think about, because he says, does it really help in your work to be constantly connected? He gives a nice principle, the principle of least resistance. He says, in a business setting, without clear feedback on the impact of various behaviors on the bottom line, we will tend to work towards behaviors that are easiest at the moment. Oh, this is something easy, I might as well do it now, right? And this is something that deeply resonates with me, because it talks about impact, right? Impact, especially on the bottom line. And we always tend to take the easier path. So an important thing he says is, clarity about what matters provides clarity about what does not. He also talks about, everybody these days say, oh, I'm so busy, right? Something common that we all say. He says, busyness as a proxy for productivity. In the absence of clear indicators of what it means to drive and value in their jobs, many knowledge workers, they turn back towards the industrial indicator of being productive. And therefore, they do a lot of stuff in a visible manner. For instance, people sitting back after hours to say, I'm here working, I'm trying to complete my work, right? So that's because you're trying to say, yes, I'm productive even beyond my normal 8 hours or whatever. An important thing that he breaks is, if it's high tech, we tend to think, oh, this is very good because it's high tech. And this culture, he calls it as technopoly. Deep work is a severe disadvantage of technopoly, because it builds on values like quality, craftsmanship, and mastery that are considered old-fashioned and non-technological. So he says deep work is hard, whereas shallow work is easy, because in the absence of clear goals for your job, the visible busyness becomes self-preserving, leading to the myth that, all things internet is good, because we are in a technological age. The third chapter talks about deep work is meaningful. He says our brains construct our worldview based on what we are paying attention to, right? Who you are, what you think, what you feel, and do what you love is the sum of what you are actually focusing on. The best moments usually occur when a person's body or mind is stretched to the limit in a voluntary effort to accomplish something that's difficult and worthwhile. Now, this is again something that deeply resonates with me, because last week I happened to be on a trek at Tiger's Nest in Bhutan, and this is exactly what I felt, where I was stretched to my limits, and it was difficult, it was challenging, yet I found it worthwhile. Now, humans are their best when immersed deeply into something challenging. So as human beings, we all like to get challenged. And that is what deep work is about. Now, I would like to take a pause here and slightly digress. Now, if I were to tell you, eating healthy or junk food, which is better, what would you say? Healthy, right? It's a no-brainer, right? So similarly, deep work is a no-brainer. So this is not an argument at all, because this is something a given, that deep work is something that's essential and important. So now the chapter 4 of the book is the more interesting part, because till now the author was actually telling us something that we already know. But by doing so, he's increased our awareness on the importance of deep work. So the chapter 4, he shares with us 4 rules for deep work. So the first rule, he says, work deeply. He says we get distracted with emails, open offices, and incessant meetings. You need your own philosophy to integrate deep work in your professional life. Now, he's given quite a few suggestions, and most of these I quite love. The first one is the way to create. He gives an example of a comic, who gives an advice to an upcoming comic. He says, the work to create better jokes is to write every day. And you ensure that you do not break this chain. So the key message here is consistency. In whatever that you do, consistency is important. Another interesting thing he says is working deeply in chunks of 90 minutes, because he says the human brain cannot go beyond that. Then he says be methodical. Whenever you find some free time, work deeply. He also suggests to build strict rituals around working deeply. So for instance, he says ban the use of internet when you're working deeply. If you're a coffee addict, keep your ingredients for the coffee ready so that whilst you're working, you can sip on your coffee. Another suggestion he gives is making grand gestures. And he gives the example of J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, exactly, yeah. So J.K. Rowling, to complete the final book of Harry Potter, actually stayed in a star hotel so that she could get more mental energy and not get distracted. Similarly, another author by name Shankman, he actually booked a round trip to Tokyo in the business class so that he could complete his book. So he says, and a good idea may be to change your environment. To go deep, you need to think big. And distraction can be a destroyer of the depth of your deep work. Yet another point that he says is execute your deep work like business. Distinguish between the what and how. And he gives the 4DX framework on discipline. The first one being focus on the wildly important goals. Whatever is important, focus on that. The second being act on the measures of success. The third being keep a compelling scoreboard. And the fourth, create a cadence of accountability. An interesting thing he says here is be lazy. Right? That's something quite shocking, right, for deep work, because he says, shut down your consideration for work issues until next morning. What's the big hurry? You might as well do it tomorrow. And the reasons he gives to substantiate this is, he says, downtime aids insight. Now, downtime also helps to recharge the energy needed to work deeply. And the third thing he says is, the work that happens evening in the downtime replaces, that's something not usually important. Now, while on one side I'd like to agree to what he says, the other side of my mind also gives me something else. I don't know how many of you have heard this Doha of Kabir, right? It says, it's in Hindi, it says, Kal kare so aaj kare so ab, kal mein pralay hoegi, feri karoge kab. Now, to loosely translate, he says, whatever has to be done, do it now, because if you keep postponing it, what if a tsunami or something hits tomorrow and you're unable to complete your work, and therefore do it right away. So this I thought was slightly contradictory. Nonetheless, let's move on to rule 2, which talks about embracing boredom. So he says, don't take breaks from distraction. Instead, take breaks from focus. He says you must rewire your brain to be comfortable resisting distraction. Now, I'm sure if you get a ping on your phone, you're tempted to look at it, right? So he says, resist that distraction. Prioritize and set hard deadlines so that you can work deeply. Another suggestion is to gamify what you're doing, and this is something I have spoken about in my book, Get High, How to Coach Yourself for High Performance, because when you gamify it, you're more interested, you look at it as a game, and then you want to score more points and win. Then he says, practice urges for distraction so that you're able to resist. And he gives 2 suggestions to meditate proactively. He says, 1 is be wary of the distractions, and 2 is structure your deep thinking. The rule 3 is again something different. He says, quit social media. Now, to master the art of deep work, you must take control of your time and attention, and because there are so many diversions that tend to steal them. Because social media is meant to be addictive. So he says, set your personal and professional goals, identify the key activities that support this, and he's given a format that's something similar to OKR, which is your objectives and key results. He also says, consider the network tools that you're using currently, any of these social media platforms. In fact, he's spoken about a lot about Facebook and few others. Of course, he's not touched upon WhatsApp, but nonetheless, he says, look at all your networking tools, evaluate whether it offers you enough benefits to offset your time and attention. Also, when he's speaking about social media, he's not mentioned about LinkedIn, so I think he considers that to be a lot more professional platform. Then the old wine in new bottle, he talks about the Pareto's principle of 80-20, whereas he's conveniently renamed it as the law of vital few, which is nothing but your 80-20 principle. Then the rule 4 is drain the shallow. He says for most businesses, if you eliminate the significant amount of shallowness, their bottom line, guess what? It's likely to remain unaffected. And this is something that I really love that he's mentioned. Because by eliminating the shallow work and by replacing the recovered time with something more deep and meaningful can be a great alternative. Deep work is exhausting because it pushes you to the limits of your abilities. And once you've hit your deep work limit in a given day, you will experience diminishing rewards if you try to cram more. Now this again made me wonder, what do you think the author would have done if he were preparing for his CA exams? It's on a lighter note, because I know people aspiring to become chartered accountants are putting in large number of hours of work, right? Then the damage of shallow work is often underestimated and its importance is overestimated. Another thing he says is schedule every minute of your day. Of course, this has pros and cons, so we can debate about it. And without a structure, it's easy to allow your time to dissolve into shallow work. And I think this is something that I completely agree, because if you're not focused, shallow work eats away all your time. For young professionals, he says, ask your boss, what is the shallow work budget? Because this could shock your boss by saying, what percentage of my time should be spent on shallow work? Another thing he says is finish your work by 5:30 in the evening. Because by having a fixed schedule of productivity, it helps you with your deep work. Now again, this is something I was wondering in this current age and time, how relevant and how practical it is. And to conclude, he says, become hard to reach. So he's given 3 tips. He says, 1 is, make people who want to send you an email to do more work, right? By doing this, I was wondering, wouldn't you cheese people off? Somebody wants to get in touch with you and you're giving them more work to do. The second tip he says is do more work when you're sending a reply to any email. So make it a process-centric approach is what he means. And lastly, he says, do not respond to emails. You don't really have to respond to every other email, which is good. But another side of me also wonders, are we not being courteous to somebody who's reached out to you? So again, it's 2 schools of thoughts out there. So to conclude with my thoughts on the book, while the book talks about something so important and the rules around this, I also felt that the author is saying contradictory things to seek attention. Like, quit social media, do not respond to emails, be lazy, and so on and so forth. So that was something that kind of stood out, because I feel end of the day it's all about striking the right balance in whatever you do. Another thing I felt is the author could have avoided beating around the bush because there are no two ways, like I said about deep work. I mean, deep work is a given thing, right? But probably if he didn't do that, the book would have been too short. So I guess that's why the author has gone about doing it. I was also surprised that there was no mention about WhatsApp because I think, WhatsApp takes a considerable amount of time these days, right? With so many groups, so many messages and non-stop pings, and even a lot of work happens on WhatsApp. So although the book was released in January 2016, I was surprised that no mention about WhatsApp is there. And I was also wondering, social media is a tool for personal branding. So does quitting social media, what happens to people who want to brand themselves? And similarly, for the content creators, which is a big profession by itself. So what happens about the social media part? So like I said, my conclusion is learning to strike the right balance between the deep work and the distractions, because we can't really do away with our, with the meetings, social media, or our emails. So therefore, end of the day, be wise with your time, see how you can be productive, add value, and put in your best efforts so that you're able to achieve the kind of deep work that you really want to. So those are my thoughts. So let's now move on to the panelists and see what they would like to share. Raghu, to you, what are your thoughts on the book? I have shared mine. I'd like to hear your perspective.
Thank you, Sangeeta, for having me here, and also, getting me to get back to reading books, right? So I've been an avid reader maybe 7-8 years back, and probably averaged 8 to 10 books in a year, and all hard copies, right? At one point of time, I had more than 400 books in my library, which I donated. And then I thought I'll build it up again, and never managed to get there. And which leads to this book in terms of the topic, because it's a very interesting topic, and probably one of the reasons why I never got back to reading books is the fact that there are so many other distractions that have come our way. It was an eye-opener for me when I read this again. The fact is that all of us have different alternatives that we can spend our time on, and I'm happy to see so many of you here and hopefully spending your time usefully rather than probably in front of a TV watching OTT. Social media, we spoke about social media. I'm hoping that there are a lot of people watching us on YouTube.
Yes.
And not scrolling down on YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels, right? So everything has its positive and everything has its negative. Finally, it's up to us to make best use of it. So getting back to the book per se, I think the concept of deep work is not something that we don't know. Many of us, when we were growing up, I'm sure our parents have said that when you study, your concentration should be on the studies. Right? So that's how they say. And somewhere we do try to do that. But once we, get onto the jobs, because we've now grown up, because we've got other things, we lose that focus. And it is important for us to get that focus back and make sure that we are productive. One, of course, in the job that we do. But it is not just about the job that we do. I believe that this deep work is going to develop one as an individual and therefore help them in both their professional and personal life. The good thing about this book is this is not an abstract book. It's given you real life experiences, anecdotes, and also told you how to go about doing deep work, right? So my recommendation is that you try and read this book and probably incorporate a couple of actions in your daily routine. Sometimes when I do some board presentation or budget presentation preparation for that, I kind of put the D&D in my team so that no one disturbs me. But that's very few and far between. So now I need to see how I can get that structurally into my routine. Although team will complain that I'm not accessible, but that's the balance that needs to be found out. And I think, all of us can do something similar or that works for each of you. Find the sweet spot for yourself. and depending on the nature of your work, depending on where you are in your career, you need to make sure that it works for you, and I think it will all help your development. Thank you.
Thanks, Raghu, for sharing that. Very important. In fact, what you said about the parents, "Idi vizhundalum theriyakudadu," reminded me of Arjuna, Drona, like hitting the eye of the fish, looking down. Yes, it was a good share. Over to you, Priya. So, what is it that you like about the book, and is there something you disliked about the book?
Thank you, Sangeeta, for having me as a speaker here. Hello, everyone. Good evening. And then you gave a very good summary on the book. I think she covered pretty much all the important points from the book. You don't have to read the book now. She has covered everything.
Thank you.
So for me, basically, when I read the book, I am not practicing deep work on a daily basis. Okay, which is a point I really have taken it for myself.
Awesome.
But I do practice deep work depending on the situation. There might be a project or something that I have to put my full effort. So I will go into deep state. I call it like that, and completely shut off myself and work on it. So that's how. But I think practicing it is on a daily basis is very important to upskill myself. Right? What I want to do next in my life. Okay, I'm at something in my career, or even not even related to career, or it's something else I want to learn. To upskill myself, I really have to, do the deep work I would say on a daily basis. I think it's important that we have to do it. What I really liked about this book is, in today's world, I think we have many self-help books that is available. I would say this is one of the top 10 self-help books that people should consider. It's very relevant for today's world. Back in industrial economy, it was very important for people to be physically present at their workplace or for anything. You have to be physically present. But today in knowledge economy, you don't need to be physically present, but mentally being present is very important. Okay, and that is where is missing with all the distractions that are around us. So how we are mentally present, and that really have a big impact to the quality of work that we are producing. So this deep work will help, all the techniques that she has already explained will help for you to be mentally present, and also will have a big impact on the quality of work that we bring out. So I would say this is a very important book for anyone who want to, upskill on whatever things that you want to do. So I think you also touched upon about how in earlier days, like when I was reading this book, I was reflecting upon myself and my kids, right? So when I was in school or even in college, when I was doing my master's, I have to write a paper, I have to do a deep work. I mean, there's nothing like I can go off the internet and search. Yes, I can go to the library and search. It'll tell me where is the paper, but I have to physically go there. True. And take the paper, read like 10, 15 papers, and then pick out the relevant information. But today's world is not like that. You Google, or now it's even more, ChatGPT will tell you everything. Right? So this is, I feel a bit sad, even though this is all, it's very important to have. For the children, to the younger generation, they should have a fine line somewhere saying, for what I will go to the ChatGPT or internet, and for what I should do it on my own. This is something I hope the kids at some point get to learn in school also. This is again a skill that they have to develop. Otherwise, I think deep work will completely diminish. Yeah.
Very nice. I really loved the two things that you said. One is on the mentally being present. And of course, on ChatGPT, that's exactly something I tell my children as well, because for every little thing, you can't go to ChatGPT. You need to actually use your brains and then, see what can be done. So that definitely resonates. Raghu, to you. Now, the author says in the book, prove that some decisions are better left to your unconscious mind to untangle. Now, I was curious to know, do you have any experience on this, or, is there something that you'd like to share about this particular thing?
Yeah, Before I get to that on ChatGPT, right?
Yes.
You also need to know the kind of questions that you need to ask
Absolutely.
ChatGPT to get the right answers.
Yes.
So both of us can be on the same topic, ask different questions and get different answers.
True.
So there's some element of,
Yes.
I guess, work that needs to be done. But
Yes.
anyway, moving on to this. So for a very long time, I believed on something called as, sleep it over, right? So a lot of times it is colloquially used, let's sleep over it. And I think that's where the unconscious or subconscious mind comes in.
Right.
Where I've had issues at work, especially when we were doing a slightly complex transaction. And I did not have the right solution, and it was a negotiation point with a third party, and who was not entirely friendly. And I did not know how to approach. And finally, during the meeting, we said, let's sleep over it and come back the next morning. And believe it or not, in the night, we kind of figured out that there was a middle ground. And surprisingly, both of us actually had the same middle ground. So it
Wow.
looked like, sleep it over is really work. I did not connect that to, a subconscious mind. But when I read this book, I realized that sometimes, and it's not always a good thing to sleep over issues, but sometimes it does work. My recommendation, therefore, would be is give the distance between a problem and a solution. A solution will present by itself to your mind. I think that's the way we should look at it.
Yes, that also prompts me to say that probably when your mind or the subconscious mind is in a relaxed state, that's when appears. Now, if you were to take the example of Newton, how did he discover the law of gravity, though, he was so keen and obsessed with it? Only when he was relaxed and sitting under the apple tree, when the apple hit his head, did he think about it. So I guess, this is my thought, and of course I've heard this from Shishi Gurudev Ravi Shankar as well. So I think,
Nothing can beat Archimedes here. He was lying in.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah. Again, he was in a relaxed state. So you see, I guess that's the key to it. Priya, to you, the author, like I summarized, has given 4 rules. So I'd like to know, is there any particular one of them that's your favorite? And if so, why? Which one and why?
Yes, my favorite is embrace boredom. Okay, out of the 4 rules, of course, all 4 rules are very beautiful. I really like the embrace boredom. The first rule tells that, of course, work deeply. That's the first rule. The second one is embrace boredom. I'll come to that. The third rule is quit social media. In today's world, quitting social media, I'm not so sure whether you can completely quit because there's a plethora of information available.
Yes.
You should be on some social media platforms. But we should all have some kind of limitations and put self-control mechanisms on how much time we are spending into it.
True.
And the last one, of course, kill the
Shallow work.
shallow work, right? That is also to some extent possible, but probably we cannot completely come out of shallow work. There are some things everybody has to do. So, but my favorite is embrace boredom. I feel, this is a keystone habit for following the other rules also. Because, why we are going into social media? Because we are bored. Okay, we don't know how to handle it. We are bored, so we go to social media. We are bored to do deep work. We are bored to do, non-trivial work. So I think if we know how to embrace boredom, probably we can tackle the other rules easily is what I feel.
Nice. And I think if I were to add on, it's also the FOMO, fear of missing out. Right? Because you feel if I'm not on social media, I don't know what's happening, probably, I'm just thinking loud. That's another one reason why.
This is an observation I do often, and I sort of check myself also. Like, let's say you're standing in a line, in a queue or airport or whatever it is. You don't see anybody just like standing still, right? Everybody is on their phone, including myself, right? And then we have to consciously say why we have to do that.
Correct.
So we are always looking for something because
Correct.
even standing in line or like many things where we
Inside
wait.
the
Even
lift.
restaurant
Inside
also.
the inside the lift.
Lift. No, even when you go out with your friends or family for dinner, on the dinner table, the mobile is there and everybody wants to check.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for that. Raghu, to you, as a CFO, what would you like to state about managing time effectively? Because I have found that this is one common challenge across levels, especially as you grow the career into leadership roles. Managing time effectively becomes a challenge. Not only that, like the author says, scheduling your time each day. While that's a good thing, but I also feel on the other hand, you need to take the time out, right, to schedule. So that also becomes time consuming sometimes. So any tips and tricks that you would like to share from your experience on this?
Yeah, sure. So it's not just as you grow, right? Managing time is relevant at all levels, and how you manage time is slightly, different. What happens to me mostly is that on a given day, I have my own plans, but my teams may have some urgent attention that I need to give, and therefore they come to me.
Yes.
The other way is that I may have something, and therefore I go to the team and I disturb their workflow, right? So it kind of happens both ways.
Correct.
So what we need to do, therefore, and this is something that I encourage my team, is to always allocate time first thing in the morning to look through what is their day looking like, and making sure that they identify the must-dos for the day. So typically all of us have our tasks, and we need to definitely list down the tasks and make sure that we also identify the must-dos in our task. The must-dos need to be done by the time the day gets done. And that is where, you need to also be able to talk to your team or your boss to make sure that you get the time to get that done. I spoke about blocking your time. It is definitely a good practice to do it, but may not be always possible. But do block half an hour, 45 minutes every day to make sure that you do things that are required for you in terms of your delivery, in terms of how you can do things better. So deep work is not just about doing the same things again and again. It is a time that you focus on doing things better, identifying new ways of doing things. So that is what deep work has a power. So make sure that you have that 45 minutes to 1 hour in a day to do this. So I think would be my recommendation. Again, each one needs to figure out what is best for you.
Yes, that's true. So I think if I were to, say one word about what you said, I think it's important to prioritize.
Absolutely.
Prioritize what is important so that the rest of the things will fall in place. In fact, I'm reminded of that, that experiment one professor did in class. I'm sure many would have heard about it. If you are given a jar and then you have the pebbles, stones, sand and everything, it really depends on what you put first so that everything can then fit in. So I think that's the key messaging you've said. And also I think like you exactly said, it's important that you find out what really ticks for you, because what ticks for one person may not really work similarly for you. So find out what really works well for you so that you can get deep into whatever that you're doing. Priya, to you. In the book, the author talks about the bimodal approach, and I want to know whether you've experienced it or, how do you apply in your work?
Okay, so personally for myself, I'm more belonging to rhythmic approach. Okay, that's
Right.
what my preference, and personally I think I probably follow more of that. Even though, as I said, I'm not following deep work on a day-to-day basis, which I would like to do. But if I have to slot in time to do certain things, that's a rhythmic approach is what I would do. But bimodal approach tells you that you completely shut down yourself or do deep work only for 1 day a week or maybe complete summer. I think they talk about a professor, Adam Grant, right?
Yes.
So who takes courses in fall and then in summer he goes to deep work mode. But as I said, I'm more of a rhythmic approach. But whether it's rhythmic or bimodal, one of the things I just wanted to highlight is about what Seinfeld. It also talks about Seinfeld in this book.
Correct.
The underlying thing which can apply for both mode is what Seinfeld is a very famous stand-up comedian. He was very famous in the 90s and probably early 2000. Okay, so he's one of my favorite. What he does is he writes daily. Okay, and he writes daily, and whenever he writes, he puts a cross. He doesn't write, he puts a cross on his calendar. And he makes sure he doesn't have 2 crosses on consecutive days. So if he misses, he catches up. So this is something I think very important when you go for either bimodal or rhythmic approach. That are you consistent in the work that you want to do? Okay, so this is will help you to again upskill yourself and bring in the quality that you want to bring in the work.
Yes, yeah, consistency is the key in what you do, because I think it not only helps you get better at what you do, but then you're more disciplined and more committed to what you're actually doing. So I think, yeah, that's absolutely important. Raghu, to you, the third rule is quit social media. Now, your thoughts on that, because how real and practical is it in the current day and age to actually quit social media? Is it something doable? Is it necessary? Why should one quit social media? Of course, having said that, I do know a few people who are not on social media also. I mean, much before, for a very long time, because for whatever reasons they have not been. So I have seen, both schools of thoughts. So I'm curious to know your thought on this.
I don't, believe that people can quit social media. This is practical, right? But what I would say is quit social media for periods of time. So the periods of time could be during the day where you have a blackout time, during days where you could have blackout time. There are obviously benefits of any social media. You tried, and we did speak about hopefully people benefiting from listening to this on YouTube or various other platforms.
Correct.
Right? So try to use it constructively, and the remaining part of social media is to be used during potentially what we call as your lazy time. But quitting social media is not practical, and I've tried that with my children, it didn't work. My wife tried it with me, it didn't work. So there's no way I'm going to advise people to quit social media, but use it constructively to the best of your requirement, and try not to spread negativity in social media. It's a public interest message that I can give.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So in fact, me, like what I do, I also don't quit social media, but what I do is I take regular periods off. Like, normally I go for a silence meditation retreat. So where like about 4 days, my phone is completely switched off. So then, I ensure that I'm, right there in the present and with myself and not get distracted. So see what works for you. See, it's important that you detox, and the key is you don't become addicted to social media, and to use it wisely to your advantage, to see how you actually benefit out of it. Like Raghu's mentioned, like, you use it for learning, upskilling yourself, or, different things that's more important in your personal growth as well as professional growth and in your well-being, rather than becoming a slave to social media. So I think that is something that's absolutely important.
We're all here today because of social media.
Exactly.
Connected and
Yes. So it definitely has a lot of advantages. So be wise and use it the right way is what I would want to say. The last question to you, Priya. Like I mentioned, one of the tips that the author provides is don't respond to emails. Now, how practical do you think it's, especially in a corporate, you sent an email either from a colleague or your boss or maybe a customer or somebody, and then you just don't respond to the email. I mean, how would it be taken in the corporate world?
it's very tough. Okay, it's very tough in the corporate environment. It also depends on what role you are in the,
Exactly, yeah.
which level inside the organization. But it is an important tool that you should have in your pocket. Sometimes it is helpful. For somebody to have a deeper S to something, there should be many shallow no's for it. Okay, so we should be able to say no to certain things. If I really want to focus on something, I should be able to say no to some meetings. Sorry, today I cannot attend these meetings, or I'm not able to respond to emails. Some things we have to neglect it. As I said, right, if you're in a very senior position in a company, I think this can be done. I know a lot of senior people do it. They blindly don't respond, or there's just no for some things. But if you're a junior engineer or just starting off in your career, it's very difficult to do this. You have to respond to all the emails. You have to go to all the meetings that I don't think there's a choice for you to say no. But you can slowly cultivate this, again, not rubbing people in the
Wrong
on
side.
the wrong side, right? It has to be handled in a very diplomatic situation. It is a tough one, but it is a good tool to have, I would say.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you because the more senior you are, you definitely have the liberty to, and because nobody really going to question you as such to say, why you haven't responded, but you'll have to take the call wisely even as you grow. And, many times I've seen people, sitting next to each other, next cabins or something, and then they are sending emails to each other saying, why this person, I'm right and why you're wrong. And then, there's these discussions and debates
So
that
I
go on.
strongly recommend my team members to talk to each other. Right? Of course, people work from home a lot, but Teams is there, and I recommend people to come on video call because you have to see the person when you're talking. So just don't set up meetings for everything. Right? Just call and resolve issue.
Yes.
There's no point in sending 100 emails. Again, that's another thing also the book they talk about. When you email, follow a process-centric approach in responding to an email. This is a very good tool to have.
Yes.
Otherwise, there'll be 100 emails on the same topic.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You going to say something, Raghu, on this?
No, I was just thinking that, I would not want my team members not to respond to my emails, right? But what I think people can definitely do is to send responses within a limited time. So sometimes, and it happens to me also, I see the, envelope that's there on the right corner, and then I immediately want to go and respond to it. I think that is something that we should avoid, and probably keep checking your mails once in 10 minutes, 10 minutes in an hour, and then try to clear your mailbox. Then rather than let the mails interrupt your flow.
Yeah, true. In fact, I think more than emails, the current day distraction is WhatsApp. Because, I remember when I was fairly, few years back when WhatsApp was not this so many messages. So every time, I'll be doing a work tongue, one ping will come and then immediately you're curious to, open and read that message. But now I think it's just too much. I'm not able to keep pace with the number of messages. So now I have learned to discipline myself to put it aside. So I think you'll have to come up with strategies that actually work for you. So thanks so much for sharing. Now we over to questions. So any of you have questions, please be prepared. I'm just starting off with the first question, which is for Raghu from Ajay from Ananagar. He says, how do you manage deep work in your role as a CFO, where financial analysis, strategic decision making, and constant meetings require focus?
Yeah. So meetings are probably the last place to do deep work, but financial analysis definitely needs deep work. And I think I did cover this topic where I said sometimes when I do a budgeting or a board presentation, I try to get into do not disturb mode because it is not about memorizing numbers. It is about understanding the numbers. It is about understanding what the business is all about. And that definitely needs focus. And, as a CFO for me, that is the most important function of my role, to make sure that I know the pulse of the business, and numbers and the KPIs that I look at are my way towards that understanding. And when I do that, I make sure that I'm not disturbed, and which is the same for each of you. The most critical elements of your work is probably when you need to make sure that you're definitely on deep work mode.
Absolutely. Yes. I hope Ajay is watching this and he's happy with it. To you, Priya, Shruti from T Nagar is asking this to you. What are the key skills or habits that have helped you to maintain deep work in your professional journey? And how can young professionals cultivate these skills early on?
So, basically, I'm very tenacious. I don't give up. Okay, so if there is a problem that I have to work on it, I will work on it, spending hours until I find a solution. I'm very hardworking, and I think these are the things that I would say helped me in my career from day one. Also, if there is a problem that is lying in front of me, I will not see whether it is. Oh, it's not my work, somebody else to come and do it. I'm always known for a person taking initiative to go and solve a problem in all the companies that I've worked so far. So I think I've had this, nobody taught me, maybe I just had it, and I was like that from my first job. Even till today, I do that. And as I said, right, if there is a problem, I put myself deeply into that problem until I find a solution. I would say these are the things that has helped me to shape my career to what I am today. What is the second question?
It says, how can young professionals cultivate these skills early on?
Yeah, it's the same, right? I mean, if you find a problem, just don't wait for somebody to tackle it, right? If there is a problem, you're able to solve it, jump on it and solve it. This is something will really help. There are situations where it is probably not an easy problem or probably very not an interesting topic to work on. Okay, it can be a very boring thing.
True.
You know, some database you have to pull up, look into things, but you will never know at the end of it. You probably discovered something that the whole company has not thought about it. So these are the things I would say. You know, just take a lot of initiatives and don't shy away from opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Raghu, to you, Akash from Egmore is asking this question. Given the growing dependency of technology, how do you strike a balance between being constantly connected and finding time for deep, focused work?
Okay. So I don't know when he says constantly connected.
I'm assuming it's for the, yes, yeah, or emails or internet, whatever.
No, this is definitely tough, and this is tough for all of us, right? So you in our workplace, you get distracted by official emails, official messages that come in your internal apps, plus whatever personal messages that you get in WhatsApp, your Snapchat, whatever, right? Which is why it is important that we make sure that we are not on the personal side of social media during work hours. Take 10-15 minutes break every 2 hours to check your WhatsApp. Make sure that if obviously to your family to call you if there is any urgent need. Otherwise, we don't need to be on any personal media. On the office front, depending on the nature of your work, as I said, batch your responses to emails. Obviously, if you are an IT professional and you are in IT support, obviously you cannot not respond to emails or Teams. So, which is why I said it is important that you find the balance for your work and make sure that you get the time that you need to do your deep work for. And the deep work is the one element of work that needs your complete attention, and make sure that you do a good job of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghu. Priya, there's a question for you from Rakesh from Kadalur. He says, how do you encourage deep work within your team, especially when working on complex projects with multiple stakeholders and deadlines?
Yeah, so my team, we are kind of scattered a bit. I have people in Chennai, then I have a team in Nellore, and we also work very closely with our European team. So we right now, much of my work is lot of operations that we do currently in the current scenario. So I encourage my team to first, for any operations, I'm a very process-oriented person. So for anything, I always ask them to, if there's a new thing that's come up, we have to create a process around it so that if it repeats or doesn't repeat, that's a problem. Because if there's a process, then it should not repeat. Or if somebody else is coming on to take up the job, they know exactly what to do. You don't have to discover it again. So I encourage my team to spend a little bit of time on their own to come up with a process, and then as a group we review it and fine-tune the process. And also I strongly encourage my team to spend some time on their own to upskill their whatever, right? If they are working in strategy, or they are an operations person, or they are a supply chain person, I recommend them to go take some courses. There are so many courses available online. I recommend them to do something every week that helps them in their career, for their personal career growth. So these are things I encourage my team to do it on a regular basis.
That's interesting. Raghu, to you, in a corporate setting where multitasking is often seen as necessary, How do you maintain focus on deep strategic tasks that require undivided attention? This is Prabhu from Vellore has asked this question.
Thanks. I always used to think that multitasking is a good thing, and
Yeah.
I was good at it as well. And then I was reading this book, and this saying was deep focus, and I think Kevin also started about multitasking, right? So multitasking does not mean doing multiple things at the same time. It means doing multiple things for a period of time to ensure that all work gets done. No human being can, unless you are Rajinikanth who can sign with both hands, can do multitask at the same time, right? It becomes very difficult, especially when both tasks need you to apply your brain. So my recommendation would therefore come back to what we talk about prioritization. Prioritize your work on a daily basis. And as I said, when it comes to some of the analysis that needs to be done, some of the reviews that we do in the finance function, it is important that it gets the undivided attention and there is no scope for multitasking. And I think when Priya mentioned about people having to be on video call, right? So these days when people work from home, sometimes they multitask by attending multiple meetings, one on the phone, one on the laptop, right? So those things are not on. You need to be fully present over the entire meeting if a meeting is required.
Yeah, I just want to add, something to it. Multitasking, probably in the context of this book, maybe we could say for shallow work, you could multitask. Maybe.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine being the mother of 2 kids and also, having this role in the organization. I can survive without multitasking. Okay, there are many times I'm sitting in my kids' badminton class or whatever it is. They are in the class. I'm sitting outside with my laptop. 1 hour I'm attending a meeting or doing some work. This is multitasking. I'm sure you will agree to this.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
it is again, for the context of the book. Maybe it can be a shallow work that you do with multitasking.
Yeah. So I'm reminded of.
Sorry, just to add, so when you are on the call, you are fully on the call.
Yes.
It is
Yeah,
not like you are
absolutely.
encouraging your
Yeah,
child
you're
and
not
then-
doing,
No, no.
you're not double timing.
Yeah, so I'm probably looked as other mothers probably see me as antisocial because I'm in one corner sitting, not chatting with anybody, but focused on my work. Yes, you're right.
Yes, yes. So, in fact, there's a very nice example on multitasking. Now, imagine if you were to write A, B, C, D, whatever, and then to say A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and then, write so on like that. So, if you were to actually sit and write A1, B2, C3, D4, and go on, instead of doing that, if you were to just write A, B, C, D, E, F, and then write 1, 2, 3, 4, which one is faster, right? So that was, I thought, a very good example for multitasking, because earlier, the first time I remember when I heard about multitasking, I was like, no, multitasking is essential. And, I was strongly in favor, but then when I talked, about this example, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, it does make sense. You might as well finish one thing and then move on. So I think that is that. Okay, so last question to you, Priya, is somebody who's asked, how do we handle deep work when we are into deep work under high pressure? The student Vivek from SRM has asked this. High pressure.
So you're already working, you're already doing deep work. So I think you probably need how to manage your high pressure.
Absolutely, yes.
I would say, break down your work, right, into smaller subtasks. You're already saying you're in deep work and you're probably in high pressure. So when you break down your work into subtasks, and it will help you to move on. When you finish one subtask, you will know that you're making a progress in your work as you finish your subtask. Instead of one big chunk, if you have subtask, helps you to manage the stress and take breaks. In this book, I think they are saying the maximum that you can do in deep work is 90 minutes. I normally, at least for my kids, when they are studying, I normally give them 45 minutes, right? 45, 50 minutes, and then take a 10 minutes, 15 minutes break. So that is something helps. Then come back again. 10 minutes break, not more than that. Right? 45, 50 minutes and come back in 10 minutes. So try to have some kind of methodology in how you take your breaks. And that break should be complete. In this book they're saying, right? This break should be just not looking at your phone or something. Just go for a walk or do something like that. Not get into a shallow work during that break. So these are the health things that can help you manage your stress. And also meditation. It could be in this book they're talking about just go for a run, and when you run, think about the problem that you're trying to solve. So this, when you come back, will give you a solution for it, or sleep through it, as you said. Sometimes when you just let a problem and then you sleep through it, next day morning you'll have a solution. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but you're already in deep work. I'm just giving you some methodologies to manage your stress. So if you still have questions, maybe you can ask now.
In fact, what you said, right? Do take 45 minutes of deep work and then maybe 5-10 minutes of break. So I think there's an app, if I remember right, I think it's called Forest or something like that. Where you're actually like, the app allows you to plant trees, right? It helps you that way. And then the moment you get distracted, you're actually kind of killing the tree. So you're like trying to see that you're focused, and then, you finish that 45 minutes and then only you touch your phone. Something like that. I heard of it. I haven't used it myself, but I thought that was a good way to, not get distracted and ensure you get. So I'm sure there are a lot more apps like that. So see if something like that works is what I would want to share. Yeah. You want to add on anything?
So typically, when you're already in deep work and you're at high pressure, right? It happens when there is a deadline that is nearing, and hopefully it's a short-term thing. But if it is a long-term, which means you have multiple events of deep work and high pressure, then you need to figure out that there's something wrong with the work that you're doing. Talk to and I guess he's a student, but if he's working also, talk to your managers and see how to sort it out here. But once in a while, when there is a deadline, there's always going to be a deep work and high pressure in a corporate job.
Also, the interesting thing that comes to my mind is, there's this saying, right? Work occupies your time. So if you have to complete a task, let's say in 30 minutes, and if you have, say, 4 or 5 hours, you'll still be doing the same work for 30 hours. The 30-minute job that you can finish, you will still be taking 4 to 5 hours. So sometimes I feel these pressures are kind of good, like, the pressure cooker, right? Because it has the pressure, the food gets cooked faster. So little amount of stress and little amount of pressure is definitely good. It shouldn't burn you, it shouldn't kill you. That's what is more important. So.
And since the question is asked by a student, so it's going to be probably a short-term thing. Right? You will finish it and think about the good things that's going to happen after you cross this, so that will keep you motivated.
Yes, that's a good thing. Yes.
Thank you. I think it's a great evening and very, very lot of things. Somebody has missed it. Please recommend to your colleague and friends to watch it. It's all available on YouTube and LinkedIn. And I'm quite sure this subject is very, very relevant to everybody, irrespective of which profession they are in. I think more than 580 viewers are watching the program. Thank you for some lovely questions and very thought-provoking questions. And thanks for answering to all the questions. Thank you, Sangeeta, for choosing a lovely book. And I'm quite sure it's very, very thought-provoking. And Mr. Raghunath, pleasure to have you with us. Priya, great having you this evening. And now I request Suresh Jain, member of the managing committee, and also Sundaram and Venkat join me on stage to present the memento. And this is what our children, we do a lot of work at the CSR with poor children. They made some lovely items. That's what we are going to give it to you. In addition to that, since you are a voracious reader, we want to give you some more book to read actually. So, Madam, come, Priya. Join us here. There you go. Come. Yes. Thank you. Nice to witness it out there. Thank you for that.